Farm update time. Thanks to popular demand, I'm growing some new vegetables this year. Here's one. This is Indian radish or mooli. If you've seen the big Korean or Japanese daikon type radishes, mooli is kind of like that, but flavor and some other things are different. These are baby vegetable sized mooli that I pulled last week for taste testing. I'm happy to say they passed the taste test with flying colors, so now I can really start building a solid grow routine for these guys because I know I'm going in the right direction. Asian radishes are fun to grow because they grow so fast. First, they're just leaves, and within a couple weeks, you can start to see the little shoulders of the root start to emerge out of the soil. And then it starts to grow pretty rapidly the last week or two, and actually grows so fast it starts to pop itself out of the soil, like the timer on a turkey. You see how this one's actually shoving the soil out of the way as it grows and kind of fattens up. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate the soil here. We are in the sandhills of North Carolina, where a lot of people say that our soil is bad because it's just sand. But there's no such thing as bad soil. They're all beautiful in their own way. Sandy soils are amazing for root vegetables because they're soft. Roots and tubers can grow in sandy soils and increase their size at their own pace without having to push and fight against the soil. In tight clay soils, they tend to come out undersized and misshapen. Carrots and other root vegetables can take forever to peel and clean. By the time you're done peeling, there's not much root left. But in a sandy soil, you'll get proper, filled out, smooth veggies that are easy to pick, easy to wash, and easy to slice up into food. It's good for me as a farmer to concentrate on what grows well in my soil. Making good decisions about what to grow also help the people who eat my food because it's easier to prepare. So I like to encourage people to think less about, is this soil good or bad, and more about, what is this soil good at? And how do I, as the farmer, lean into that? So part of how I do that in my loose sandy soil is growing root vegetables, because they really like it here. However, this root vegetable, Indian radish, it's a new one for me. So let's talk through, you're growing a new crop, how do we figure out how to do it right? There's gonna be trial and error. If it's a standard mainstream veggie that you can find at US grocery stores like tomatoes and cucumbers, you can skip a lot of the trial and error because there's probably a guide somewhere on how to grow it in your state. But what if it's a veggie that's not already a standard veggie for the US? If any guides do exist, they may not be written for my area, or they might even be written in a language that I don't know. So how do you learn how to grow a vegetable like that? It's mostly just trial and error, and talking to people who are already familiar with using that vegetable. For mooli, it's a radish, so my baseline is to grow it just like any other radish. But I still don't know what size is it supposed to be, what's a good one look like? Do people want it with or without the leaves on? A lot of this is about learning how to grow the plant, but a lot of it is also about marketing. And I know marketing became a dirty word because it sounds like high pressure sales tactics. That is not what I'm talking about here. This is about, you're making this for other people, the market. So you have to make sure that it is the kind of vegetable that they want. Just because it looks normal to me does not mean it's what they're looking for, right? Marketing in this case is about knowing what people want and making that. Don't just run your farm like shooting from the hip and expect everything to work out. Pay attention to your market. There's certain ways that mooli is prepared and cooked, so I want to make sure that I am growing them so the plants are healthy in the field, and also so they're the right size and shape and flavor for how they get used. So that's why I want to get feedback from customers really, really early on. So those are some thoughts on trying out new crops as a farmer and making sure that we farm in ways that work for ourselves and for our land, but also for the people who eat our crops, because they're the whole point of all this. That's all. Have a good day.